They push. We push. Every once in a while, we push hard enough that the light breaks through the clouds, so the world beyond the war glimmers, just out of reach. The war is the world, and the world is the war. But behind every gun sight is a human being. We are those people. We are the jaded. We are the naive. We are the honorable and the criminal. We are the bound for legend and the lost to history. We are the knights of the sky, the ghosts in the desert, and the rats in the mud. These are our stories. All right, WDGR Society, listen up. Community Game Night continues on Friday, February 21st from 8 p.m. to midnight with Battlefield 1 on PlayStation 4. Jump in a Mark V landship and man the gunner position as we plow our way into enemy territory. We'll be charging the beaches of Cape Hells while capturing bases in Conquest, lobbing grenades in a French chateau as we arm bomb stations in Rush, and preparing for cataclysmic assaults as we push through the trenches at St. Quentin Scar. Squad up with us for a night of dodging airplane grenades, Zeppelin airstrikes, and military shovels to the chest. For more details, be sure to find us on Discord, as well as our website, WDGRPodcast.com. I'll see you guys on the battlefield.
Welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. You're listening to episode 63 for the week of February 9th, 2020. I am your host, Drew, and I am joined by caffeinated coconut water, Will.
What's up, man?
Dude, I had no idea that you were imbibing in caffeinated coconut water.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's made by one of my favorite coconut water companies. In fact, my definite favorite. And it's got black... Oh, I thought it was black coffee, but it's green coffee berry fruit.
Huh.
And then there's some other stuff in there, but it's not bad. It's a small can.
Okay.
But yeah, excellent company, C2O. I still don't know if it's CO2 or C2O, but
well, I hope it's
stuff.
not CO2.
Yeah.
That would be deadly coconut
Very
water,
deadly.
Right?
But yeah, I certainly need to pick me up, man. I'm kind of dragging today.
Dude, welcome to my world. I am still in a haze. We are recording at, it's roughly 1 o'clock on Saturday, and I was leaving my job 12 hours ago. So,
oh, gosh.
I'm tired. I'm still in that fog. So, folks, if I start going off in a weird direction and kind of just trailing off a little bit more than usual, I blame my sleep schedule.
Do you have coffee?
Yeah, I'm on my... Well, I guess it's not even a second cup, but yes, I do have coffee. But, I mean, after a while, you can just kind of get to the point where no amount of coffee in the world actually helps.
Yeah,
and that's
when you're
kind of
that
where
tired.
I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, you were saying that, like, you drink, like, half a can of your caffeinated coconut water and your hands start shaking and stuff.
Yeah.
For me, like, I would never reach that point. Like, I would stop drinking because I was going to the bathroom so much before I hit the point of shaky hands.
So how much do you think it would take for you to get to that level? Of like, holy fuck, I had too much.
I'm not sure.
Maybe like a couple monsters?
No, I can pound monsters.
Oh, God.
I don't, but I can.
That's horrible. The fact that you can pound just one of them makes me, like, squirm.
I don't even like them. Honestly, like I'm not really a fan of the way I like. It doesn't make me jittery, but I don't feel like good when I drink those. I don't know.
There's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, I feel like dehydrated and like awake yet asleep at the same time.
That is a horrible existence. Just think about what you just said. Like, I feel kind of tired, but awake and just feeling like shit.
Yeah. So I try to use those only like a can of Monster is like my break in emergency kind of glass, you know?
Yeah.
So if I'm working, like a 12-hour shift, I'll bring a Monster with me, and I will drink any other caffeinated beverage before I open that Monster. My go-to at night is tea. I like to drink black tea. And that usually does a sufficient job of keeping me functional. But every once in a while, like if I'm just really struggling, then I'll crack open a Monster. Or even if I just want something that doesn't taste like tea or water, I'll crack open a Monster. And I usually regret it.
Dude, I feel like less people would drink them if the bottle or the can was clear. Because if you pour that shit, if you take like a black, canned Monster, your OG Monster, and you pour that in a tumbler glass, it's what, like green?
I think it is. It's like that, it's like off-brand Mountain Dew.
Yeah, it's like toxic fucking green, I think last time I checked.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff is just super funky looking, and it's just laced with chemicals.
Oh, yeah. And that's the other thing. I think that's why I'm dehydrated, sleep awake. Because it's all those chemicals.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've already gone off on a tangent here.
Expected.
Everybody, basically, yeah. Thanks everybody for listening to the show. You are listening to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. We talk about video games and energy drinks, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Tumbler glasses.
Energy drinks out of tumbler glasses. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WDGRPodcast. Of course, don't forget to check out our website, www.wdgrpodcast.com, where we have our podcast episodes, weekly blogs from both Will and myself, Music Mondays, all kinds of fun stuff. We also have information about upcoming game nights, which we got a couple already in the works coming up, so keep an eye out for that. And check out our Discord room. We have links to our Discord chat room on the site, and as well as in the show notes for this episode. You can hit us up in the mailbag, ask us questions for the show, or just stop on by and say hello.
Well said.
Thank you. I'm surprised I had coherent sentences out of that, actually.
That was well done.
Will, somebody would like to follow you on social media. How can they do so?
Will_gear.
You can find me at ScionStorm. So, let's hit the mailbag. What do you think, man?
Let's do it.
Let's see here. Raffy Fatfingers asks, what is your guilty pleasure?
Talenti, gelato.
Pizza.
Pronto. Jesus Christ.
And that rhymes too. Talenti, gelato, pizza, pronto.
Yeah, I mean, look, if it's like food related, definitely Talenti, which is a brand of gelato, which is essentially a sort of Italian style of ice cream. Really good stuff. I'll just crush the entire pint. And Indian food, I guess, kind of counts as a guilty pleasure, even though it's not like horrible for you. Those are two things that I often kind of sneak in there. Mm-hmm. And I kind of consider them guilty pleasures. I probably have more than that. Like chocolate chip cookies are pretty good. I'm
going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to guess that Raph is referring to video games, so.
I would say so, yeah. I would say so, but since I'm kind of struggling on what that could be for me, because I don't really have one.
I think you do. Platinum games.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point, actually. I'm certainly, I don't know if it's a guilty pleasure. I suppose it is.
Well, I mean, you're an avid follower of their products.
I am.
Almost to a fault in some cases, I would say.
Quite possibly.
But, I don't know. I think that's a good one. I'm trying to think of stuff that kind of crosses the line between just being a fan and just, and just being, because to me, a guilty pleasure is something that maybe you would be slightly embarrassed to discuss in public.
Right.
So maybe not platinum games, but.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if I really have one. I can't think of it's not like I'm coming home and playing Barbie's Dreamhouse secretly on the PS1 or something.
Is that a bad thing to do?
Maybe not.
Note to self: don't play Barbie's Dreamhouse on PS1.
I mean, like, if Candy Crush counts as a video game or like a mobile video game, then my wife is certainly guilty of that. But at the same time, I don't know if she is, because like she is open about it. So I don't know, Raph. I'm kind of struggling on this one. What about you, Drew?
I mean, I have a couple, I guess. It kind of tends to be in the mobile play space for the most part. I have a mobile Star Trek game that I play, Star Trek Timelines, which honestly I'm starting to get kind of burned out on.
Mm-hmm.
So I might be taking a break from that, but that's something that I kind of play frequently. Even if it's just for a couple minutes here and there. I'm checking it multiple times per day. And so that's fun. I do have this strange fascination with idle games, which we've talked about before. Those tend to be mobile games, but they're all the kind of the same thing, where like you're basically just repeating an action, leveling up the power of that action, and then resetting with like a prestige. So the next time you do that action again, it's stronger. And it's usually some kind of an economic scale. You're trying to get money or points or something so you can continually upgrade and buy more of that thing to ultimately prestige and start over with a stronger purchasing power, that kind of thing. And there's a lot of like really just boring idle games. I think as a whole, the idle genre or the clicker genre can be fairly boring. But I've been really into this game. It's available on mobile, but it's also a web-based game. It's called Idle Dice.
Okay.
And this one actually has like a decent amount of strategy in it, because basically you're rolling dice to create combinations of points, right? And the more the different combinations have multipliers on them, so you can kind of just earn more and more points, and then you can convert that those points into purchasing playing cards. So there's 52 cards in the deck, and you can buy these cards, and these cards have their own set of multipliers on them. Like maybe the second dice is multiplied by 10, or the first dice is multiplied by 5, or whatever the case is. And then ultimately you can prestige and gild those cards and kind of start the whole process over. But now those cards, you don't have to draw them from the deck anymore. They're pre-drawn for you. And then there's a roulette wheel that's involved, and eventually there's some kind of a slot machine that's involved. And it's all variations on this loop of buying something, upgrading it, making it produce more, resetting, buying it, upgrading, that kind of vicious cycle.
Sure.
And these games have like ultimately no point, but I feel like at least this Idle Dice game has strategy in it, because the order that you're purchasing your upgrades actually makes a significant impact on the game. You could stall out your progress completely if you don't buy something in the right order. There's no like way to lose though. Like this game and all of these idle games, there's no failure. You just start over. And it'll give you maybe a smaller bonus on your next run through, but it's still a bonus. You're still making forward momentum. There's no way to like backtrack. So there's almost no challenge involved,
Mm-hmm.
I guess
would say,
yeah, go ahead.
Not to interrupt. I was just going to say that I can think of one game that I used to play, and it was absolutely a guilty pleasure. It was Ragdoll Blaster. I want to say I might have mentioned this before, like ages ago on the show, but it was I don't know if it still exists. I want to say I checked maybe like half a year ago, but it was like a free game. I think there was like a version that you could buy, and you just blast this like ragdoll into like objects and stuff. And I think you just the point of the game is you wanted to kind of keep it going.
Okay.
And I remember playing that for a long time, just kind of when I was, out of sheer boredom. And I don't think I told anybody about it.
Did it look like pen ink on like graph paper?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at some screenshots of it. It looks fun.
Yeah, it was. It was just one of those, mindless games that you play like when you're getting your oil changed and you're just in the lounge and you're waiting.
Yeah. No, this looks fun.
I guess that would count.
Yeah. More embarrassingly, I remember years ago, I picked up a copy of Rumble Roses for the Xbox 360. And I don't think I fully understood what I was getting into. I thought it was a wrestling game featuring women. I didn't realize it was a wrestling game featuring scantily clad, sexually charged anime women. And I don't know, it was fun. I enjoyed it for what it was. Eventually it burned off, but
yeah, those kind of things generally do.
Oh my god.
I kind of wish I did have one though, man. Like I wish I was still playing like Flappy Bird. And in fact, I don't know why I'm saying I wish I still was. I never played it, but I kind of wish that I did and was kind of addicted to it, because sometimes having that sort of like little addiction is kind of cool.
Let me tell you right now, Flappy Bird sucks.
Does it really?
Don't waste your time.
That guy made like a killing off of it, though, didn't he?
Well, yeah, he did, and I'm happy for him. But like, you're gonna for somebody like you and me, like we would install Flappy Bird, we would play it for 30 seconds and be like, "This is it," and immediately uninstall it.
Mm.
That's what I did anyway. Like I was just like, "This is what society's crazy about." Like, really?
Yeah. Kind of ingenious, though, like going back and looking at that game and just, you obviously have this little bird and it sinks if you're not like hitting the right button just at the right time. So I could
just
see
like
that
real
being
life.
Yeah, I know. But the fact of like the mechanics of it were so, I think, ingenious, because he tapped into something in the sort of human psyche that wants you get so frustrated when you hit something that you have to do it again, because you just like, it creates this this drive, this like sort of psychotic drive where you're like, I'm gonna fucking get this, like I'm not gonna, oh my fucking god, and then you just keep going and you going and going because you're getting frustrated with yourself for your own mistakes. So I think he definitely tapped into something quite unique there with humankind.
It's all about that loop, man. That gameplay loop, success and failure, and success being rewarding. And when you have like a tangible number that you're trying to reach, that makes it, even more powerful, I think. So like, I don't know if I don't remember how the fuck they judged it. Was it like 5 pipes, 5 miles, 5 whatever? But like,
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't even fucking remember because the game sucks. But when you get to a certain point, it's like you realize, oh man, if I had just done this a little bit better, I could have gotten one more of those things. And there's a lot of games that do that. Like, that's not a new trope in video games by any means.
Yeah, and there's a lot of games that sort of play on that. Like even just Sekiro, like the boss fight that I'm still dealing with. It's very repetitive, where it's like I keep getting further, knowing that like I'm almost close to beating him.
Right.
But at the same time, the loop that you're in is not a simplistic loop, and I think that's where it differentiates.
Yeah. I mean, there's a high amount of skill that's involved in that.
Yes.
But there's also, with a game like that too, there's no randomization in like the character. Like those pipes in Flappy Bird are randomized. Every time you're playing Flappy Bird, it's a new level. Mm-hmm. It's not a standardized level. So you can learn, the pattern of your enemy that you're facing and how best to defeat him or her. And, it's like putting all that time and effort in becomes rewarding. But with like a game like Flappy Bird, the whole thing is procedurally generated each time. So like, how are you going to learn the game when the game changes each time? I mean, I guess you're learning how, you're learning the character and what the character is capable of doing and how to best adjust that with the level that you have. But outside of that, I just, I don't know, man.
I think I was unaware of that, actually, that each time you went back after dying, the pipes were different levels and everything.
I'm fairly sure. I could be wrong. I'm not going to look it up to find out because fuck that game. But
yeah, didn't somebody die over that shit?
Probably.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure somebody was like playing it when they walked into traffic and got smacked by a car.
It was either that, or I'm pretty sure that some dude got stabbed over it. Because
Wait,
like,
what?
I think, I shouldn't really laugh, but I'm pretty sure, I'm like 98% sure that there was a situation where I think 2 like young kids, they were brothers, were playing it, and I think they were sharing the game or something, and like one of the kids like got further than the other one or something, and then like he stabs his own brother. It was something similar to that. We could probably look it up, but I'm pretty sure that's why the developer like kind of disappeared. And I remember he got really overwhelmed with the success of it too, where he got like sort of famous for like a hot second, and then he like disappeared because he made like, I'm pretty sure he made like a couple million, maybe more than that. And,
the guy, he checked out.
Yeah, he checked out. He just disappeared, and that's the smartest thing he probably could have ever done.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if the entertainment world got a handle on him and said, hey, we want you to do this. We want you to make a Flappy Bird fucking amusement park. And because that's what they would have done. They would have like completely transformed him. They would have like demanded that he do certain things because everybody would have wanted like in on it. But for him to make an app that was incredibly addictive and then just sort of disappear, probably the smartest move he could have ever done.
Agreed. Agree 100% there. Let's move on to the mailbag. We got a couple more questions here. Son of a... I'm going to fuck this up. Son of a Fitch.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Welcome to the Discord, Son of a Fitch. Where is the line drawn for you while playing a game that you'd rather beeline the story, explore, and do side quests, i.e. time crunch wanting to get to the next game? This is something that I frequently struggle with, is like, making that definitive decision. Okay, no more side quests,
Yeah, this is an interesting topic. I think we've definitely touched on it in similar ways, but this one is a little bit more defined. I mean, beelining a story, I would say I've definitely done that in Skyrim, and I did that specifically so I could have the sort of time to do all of those side quests and not have to worry about the story kind of getting in the way. That would probably be a really good example of where I've done that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've kind of had two separate experiences within the past year or two. With Spider-Man, I definitely reached a point where I decided, okay, these side quests, as cool as they are, they're just essentially stat upgrades and probably not worth my time. So I, while I was very focused on side quests initially, I just decided that they were more about presenting a challenge than actually enhancing the game, I think. Not that they were bad. I mean, they were fine, but like some of them were really difficult. And in order to get that perfect percent for that extra point of XP for your skills or your tech, I just decided not to go down that route. But then you have like a game like Horizon Zero Dawn where the side quests are so enriching to the overall story that, I think it's about the world building and finding those things that just kind of give you a moment to go in a place where you normally wouldn't have gone. And for me, even though like I desperately want to finish that game, I don't think I can unless I do those side quests because they're so well done, and it's not just about getting a skill point to upgrade your character or, getting a new weapon or a new armor, but it's really about building the world and enhancing it.
Yeah, I think so. And overall, I think it's important nowadays to make sure that you do kind of go off course a little bit. Because if you stay super focused, like sort of intentionally, but you're not like thrilled with the story, you're probably gonna have a bad time, and then just have the sort of you're gonna be eager to be sidetracked,
right?
And that's fine too. But I think it's just let it all happen naturally.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Like if you're finding yourself heading in a direction and you're enjoying it, just go with it. But if you find that it becomes a chore, maybe not,
Yeah, it's tough when you have OCD. I think the two of us definitely have a slight case of that. I know I do. And sometimes when I'm straying off too much, I'm like, oh man, like I should probably complete the story first because that's how it's like sort of, intended on, this is how like you should be playing it. Right. And I don't know. I think sometimes when I do that, it kind of ruins the experience because you're doing something that isn't natural.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah, let's see here. Let's move on. Raffy Fatfinger says, have you ever created a concept for your own game? What is it? And who would you trust to make it?
That's a really good question. I'm surprised we didn't get that one earlier.
Yeah, kind of.
Uh, I guess yes and no. I've thought about this from time to time, but I never really came up with anything concrete.
Mm.
I think that it would definitely be an indie game. Would be a good place to start because I'm very story driven and I like the emotional side of games. So it would probably be something along the lines of like, Inside or Journey. I love those games, obviously, and I would probably create something that is similar to that kind of feel and that kind of sort of long lasting effect. But what is it, and who would you trust to make it? Probably, I mean, I hate to kind of go back to it, but probably Playdead, who created Limbo and Inside. I would trust them. Most of the indie game studios do a pretty bang up job at what they do. Super Giant Games, for sure. Platinum Games. Sure, that was expected.
Yeah, I was waiting for it. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, the train's never late. But besides those three, I could probably think of a couple others, maybe from software. Because I'm just thinking of, devs that I really enjoy, but I wouldn't necessarily give it to somebody like Bethesda. I mean, even though they make spectacular, big open world games, I'm not sure if that's the direction I'd be going in with a game that I'm trying to create.
I don't have anything particularly modern that I've thought of. I don't know, like the idea of like creating a game or a concept just hasn't really been something I've ever given any thought recently. But when I was a child, Dave and I, we came up with a concept for a fighting game.
Oh boy, this is going to be good.
And some of the details are fuzzy. So if Dave, if you're listening, I'd love to have you chime in and fill in some of the blanks. Feel free to talk about it in our Discord room, or shoot me a text and I'll read it on the air in the next episode. But if my memory serves me correctly, the name of the game was called Reign of the Fighter.
Okay. And
it was supposed to be kind of like a Mortal Kombat clone. You got to keep in mind that, this is like at the height of the Mortal Kombat popularity. MK2 had just come out. MK3 was on the horizon, and fighting games were all the rage. Everybody was making fighting games. Right? And it was more leaning towards the Mortal Kombat movement than the Street Fighter movement. Street Fighter was still very kind of, I don't want to say niche, but Street Fighter did its own thing. You had your Street Fighter and your SNK crowds, and then you had your Mortal Kombat crowds and everybody else, And both of us were, at the time, very much into Mortal Kombat. And we were kids, and we thought the fatalities were cool and all that shit. And we came up with this. We had a storyline. I don't remember any of it, but we had a storyline. Dave drew out a character select screen. Dave is a very talented artist, and he had a character select screen that he drew out and everything. And we had a whole bunch of characters, and it was going to be the best fighting game ever.
Mm-hmm.
And we were 7. So
holy shit.
Yeah. So I would love to have him kind of fill in some of the blanks. Maybe we can get him back on the show to talk about it or something.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that. I mean, obviously that's a very ripe age to be dreaming of, a fighting game. But generally at that kind of age bracket, your imagination is really peaking in a lot of ways.
Dude, we've talked about like some of the movies and stuff that we were making and things like that. We were all about imagination back then.
Yeah.
We used to do some really silly shit.
Honestly, I think we've lost touch with our imaginations. And, when we think of imagination, we think of fucking Barney, the dinosaur. That's
you
like,
do.
Just... Well,
hold on a second. I have not lost my imagination, sir.
Good. Well, I still think, when you mention that word, though, like a lot of people are like, oh, dude, what are you watching, fucking Barney or like Mr. Rogers? It's like, no, dude, it's because I have a fucking open mind. But honestly, I really think that, it's important to keep that in check because you can come up with some pretty cool shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's something that I as an adult, I try really hard to do is just constantly, I don't want to say daydream because I feel like daydreaming implies that you're not focusing.
Exactly.
But I like to brainstorm and I like to come up with ideas. I like to create. I'm a creator at heart. It doesn't matter what I'm creating, as long as I'm creating something. It can be music, it can be podcasts, it could be writing articles, it could be filming movies, creating movies. I just have to be creating something at all times. Otherwise, I feel incomplete.
Yep.
And imagination is a huge part of that.
100%. There's nothing better than like being in a quiet room, listening to music and like working on a project alone and just thinking about shit, because generally when you put yourself in that kind of atmosphere, your mind will start getting creative because you're surrounded by things that, really kind of pull that out of you and stimulate it.
You know what my new favorite thing to do at night is? When I get home from work, I go on YouTube. Excuse me, and I play this on my TV. I'll bring up one of those channels, which is like a 24/7 streaming channel. Mm-hmm. And they have all kinds of ones like lo-fi hip hop. They have coffee shop ones, but they're all like music that's intended to study to.
Oh yeah.
And I'll just throw one of those on and I'll, work on, like I just wrote an article for the site last night and I published it this morning, and I finished writing it while I was listening to one of those channels because it's background music, but it's not distracting and it just gets me focused in a great way.
I love doing that, man.
All about those right now. If anybody's curious, let me know. I'll make some recommendations. But really, just look for like one of those 24/7 live streaming channels on YouTube, music to study to, shit like that, and you'll find some great options.
There's amazing stuff out there. And, mentioning YouTube, circling back to Raf's guilty pleasure question, I would say ultimately, though, that is my number one guilty pleasure. And again, I'm not guilty of it. However, I'm guilty when I realize how much time I spend on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is like one of my favorite things I think ever, dude, is YouTube. And I know that some people might hear that and be like, oh, dude, you got to fucking get out more. I disagree. I mean, I've learned so much from that website, and it's really good for creativity, actually. Really good for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you have to keep in mind that YouTube is what you make of it.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of information out there for maybe, like, if you want to learn, how to build a, Raspberry Pi, RetroPie emulator. Like, I've done those through tutorials that I found on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Without YouTube, I probably wouldn't have been able to do that. Yeah, there's guides you can read, but guess what? Somebody updates the software, that guide is no longer valid, or maybe somebody ran into a problem that wasn't foreseen in the guide, or, and if you just look for it, there's going to be that answer somewhere on YouTube for you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It depends on the content. You could go down a rabbit hole of cat videos and people getting, bit by animals and shit. But, if you watch the right things, you can really walk away with a new perspective on life, quite literally.
Yeah, I agree.
Love that site.
Well, this has been a fun rabbit hole that we've driven down, huh?
It has. But hey, it was natural. We didn't beeline the story.
We did not. Well played. I like how you pulled that all full circle. So thank you to everybody that sent in your questions. Feel free to send in questions of your own. You can hit us up at WDGRPodcast@gmail.com. Or really the best way is to just swing out by our Discord room. We have a chat room specifically for mailbag stuff. And we pull directly from that every week. So stop on by, say hi. We'd love to see you.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Will, what have you been playing lately?
Gravity Rush 2.
Nice.
Yep, nice. I know. I'm charting off course here again, but I couldn't help it, man. And I'll tell you what really kind of stimulated this for me. Sunhe Legend, I've mentioned before on Twitter. He's the guy that makes those fantastic GIFs. Yeah. He shared a gift, or I almost said gift. He shared a GIF from that game recently, and I saw it, and it was just so breathtaking, man. And I forgot how beautiful that game is. And I've only played about maybe like 3 to 4 hours, maybe 5 of that game when I first got it. And I fell in love with the game, but, as usual, I got distracted by something else at the time, and I veered away from it. But I re-downloaded it recently from work, actually, for my PS app, and loaded it up today before the show, and I'm so glad I did. And I'm really... Oh, man, I'm really excited to play it because it's one of the most... I don't know, it's definitely one of the most gorgeous games I think I've ever seen. I've said that a lot about other games, but this is very unique because it really has that sort of anime coming to life effect. And It's very fluid, and it feels like a Platinum Games game, which is also good. I don't know if you know a lot about Gravity Rush, but I would look into it. I'm going to share that gift, I'm going to share the GIF as a gift in Discord for everybody to see, because it may be just enough to pique your interest as well. But that is what I'm playing as of today.
It is something that I've always wanted to dive into. I've had a passing strong curiosity about it, but I've just never had an opportunity to pick it up or make time for it more accurately. So it's good to hear you kind of talking about it. Maybe it'll, kind of get me more interested into it and give me a reason to buy it. Maybe you could talk me into buying that game.
I probably could. There's a couple videos that I watched, quite some time ago before I got the game, and it was enough to make me pull the trigger. I'm pretty sure I think it was like 40 or 50 at the time digitally. And I remember it being kind of pricey considering that it's a little bit of an older game. Yeah. But I just bought it anyway because I was like, I have to experience this. And it was just an intro to the game, which is like this sort of mining sequence where you're getting dropped into this weird mine and you're in like a mining suit. And it just looked so fluid and polished, and I was like, "This is all me, man." I mean, that's what I'm gravitated towards is polished smoothness, with excellent graphics and sort of that cartoony look, but in the right way.
It seems like it's a very fluid game.
Very. If you watch gameplay, it really is remarkable how they were able to get sort of that Ni no Kuni effect. It's very reminiscent of that. Actually, I would say that's a really good way of kind of imagining this game if you haven't watched any videos.
Interesting.
Yeah, anime come to life format. You're controlling a character named Cat who does have a cat in the game as well. Okay. I think his name is like Dusty, or her name is Dusty. And I can't really say too much else because I haven't played it in so long, and obviously I just loaded it up today. So I'll have more to chat about on the next episode, I'm sure, but I'm just really glad that I'm acting on emotion right now with this and not just, like, what's his face, son of a bitch said.
Oh, beelining
beelining like, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, that's what I should be doing. But right now I feel like I want to, go off course a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I struggle with, the whole idea of like really just focusing on one game at a time. I'm terrible at it. I'm trying it, but admittedly, it's really just not working out very well for me. And like I'm not ready to call the 12 and 12 a failure yet, but I'm on the fence with it already. It's only February, just because like I've kind of stalled out with Octopath, but it's not because of the game. It's just life. More than anything, really, But yeah, man, I mean, like sometimes you just got to follow your heart,
You do. And sometimes it, when you said a lot of times life gets in the way, sometimes where you're at in your life mentally or physically or whatever will kind of chart that course into what game you want to play. And sometimes it's very mood based. We've spoken about that several times.
Yep, definitely. So as far as what I've been playing, it has not been Octopath. I have not played Octopath since I came back from Florida. I don't know why. I just, my mind just hasn't been in it.
Yeah, I mean, you were very full speed ahead with that.
Yeah, I was. And like, honestly, like I kind of haven't really touched a video game for the most part since the trip. I played 2016 Doom for a little while after watching one of the videos about Doom Eternal. I got like so amped up about it. I fired it up immediately. I was playing that and I was having a great time with that. That's a fantastic game. And, I upped the difficulty on it. I never played it on the higher difficulties. I'm not sure why Doom is best at higher difficulties, but I don't know. I think when I was playing, I just kind of wanted to get through the game and I figured I'd circle back to it and I never did. So I decided to up the difficulty on that, and I played through a couple stages, and it's definitely a ton of fun. But then I stopped. So but I decided that like we've kind of touched base on fitness a little bit in here over the past 60 some odd episodes, and it's not something we talk about frequently, but I do feel like I need to do something for my well-being. I feel like really out of shape and just mentally and physically in a bad place. So I've been wanting to kind of start exercising again. Really, I don't want to say it's not for my physical health, because obviously the physical benefits are massive, but like my mental health, really needs it too. And
Yeah.
I tend to get in this like vicious cycle of not being motivated to do anything, so I don't do anything to make it better. And then with my work schedule, it's difficult for me to find something that works well with that schedule. I don't want to just go to a gym and use the machines and leave if I can help it. I'd rather be taking classes or in an environment where, I feel like my money is going towards something other than renting, a Stairmaster.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it, man. It's super important. Everything that you're pointing out is so relevant.
So I've been looking at Ring Fit Adventure for a while. Ever since they announced it, I was kind of like, I kind of went through the phases of like, that's silly. And then like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then I started like really researching it and reading up on it now that it's been out for a couple months. And there's people that like have really enjoyed it. So I sat on it for a while. I've been talking with Nikki about it for a couple months. I'm like, it's a little expensive, and yeah, it's this extra peripheral, but maybe it'll work for me, right? And finally, I decided this week to buy it. And in typical Drew fashion, I used some Best Buy bucks. So I got the price down to like $30 out of pocket. So
how do you? I just feel like you have like an unlimited supply of like Best Buy points and bucks and coupons.
Well, I have a Best Buy credit card, and any single purchase that I make on that credit card generates points. I get more points if I buy something at Best Buy, which I don't do a ton, but like anytime I fill up my gas tank, I use that card that gives me points towards Best Buy. So I'll get a couple $100 in Best Buy points over the course of a year.
Yeah, I think that's really what it is I'm not using that because I have that card as well, but I've never really used it like that.
Yeah, I mean, the trick with any rewards card is to keep a zero balance.
Correct.
You still get the rewards. You don't have to like wait for that to carry over and get interest on it before you get the rewards. So I'm using the card and then I'm paying it off in the same month. And, I'm basically getting free money by doing that. Because I'm never getting interest charges on that.
It's the smartest way to do it, man. I mean, most people don't use their cards in that fashion, but that's a whole nother topic.
It took me years to get to that point where I was able to do so because I was constantly in that vicious cycle of paying the interest and not getting anywhere. I was paying on the interest and not paying towards the principal.
Correct.
Yeah, like you said, that's a podcast for another podcast.
Yes.
So yeah, I got a copy of Ring Fit Adventure, and I've only had an opportunity to use it once. It came in Thursday night. I was already at work when it arrived. So Friday, I fired it up before I went to work, and I gotta say, man, I'm pretty impressed. It is, I'm all right. So I'm very early in it, right? And they're just kind of drip feeding you certain exercises.
Okay.
But this is absolutely the kind of thing that no matter what your fitness level is, you can find something in it that will work for you. So, I mean, if you're like, super shredded, running 6 miles a day, able to do like 50 pull-ups with one pinky finger, maybe this isn't for you. But for, I think the average person whose fitness level varies anywhere from non-existent to pretty good, I think you'll be able to find something in this. The ring that you attach the Joy-Con to has a decent amount of resistance to it, but not so much that you can't use it.
Okay.
And it's not just something that you squeeze. It's also something that you will lift over your head or move from side to side. And then you have a band that wraps around your leg. And that's kind of like to measure your leg movement, right? You're using the Joy-Cons attached to these devices. So one Joy-Con goes into the ring, the other one goes in the band. And based on some early calibrations before you start the game, it kind of figures out, okay, the Joy-Con is approximately this far off the ground, so that when you start doing things like sit-ups or something of that nature, it'll read, the Joy-Con's able to detect, whether or not you're on the ground and how level your leg is and the positioning and things like that. And then you have a character who is going through this world, and the whole game is super tongue-in-cheek. Like, it's talking about fitness in the game and how you're doing all these things to like save the world because you want to be so fit or something like that, right?
Okay.
It's stupid, but it's like it knows what it is. So it gets bonus points for me for that. And like your character runs through the world, and in order to do that, you jog. You actually jog in place.
Okay.
So you're getting your heart rate up. Now you come across a set of stairs. Well, you can continue to jog in place and you'll walk up the stairs super slow. Or you can start lifting those knees a little bit higher and your character will proceed up the stairs at a much faster pace. And as you're going along, you're going to encounter things that you can pick up. And some of them are like just rings, or some of them are like these bonus tokens. And the tokens are worth experience points. And I think the rings can be used to buy stuff at some point. I haven't gotten that far in the game where it's an option yet.
Okay.
But you're collecting these things, and sometimes those things will be in your path, so you just run over them and they're yours. But some of them will be to the left or to the right or maybe above you. And you could shoot a like air blast if you take the ring and you point it off to the side and you squeeze it. And it knows which way you're pointing. It detects that.
That's
or
neat.
if you have like things that are surrounding you, you can suck them in like a vacuum if you take the ring and you pull it out. So
Okay.
you have two different like motions that you can do to kind of interact with things in the world. And you're running, and all of a sudden you reach an enemy. And then it goes into like a battle mode like you would anticipate from like a normal RPG, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're not using button presses to initiate this battle. You're using exercises. So now at some point my understanding is certain exercises will be stronger or weaker against certain enemies. I have not reached that point yet, but my understanding is like maybe certain enemies might be weaker to yoga poses, or some might be weaker to ab workouts. And eventually with experience, you can unlock more and more exercises as well too. At the point I'm at right now, I only have like 4 options. There's squats, there's I think they called them like a chair lift or something like that. It's more of a yoga pose where you're squatting but raising the ring above your head and lowering it.
Okay.
There's crunches. So you're sitting on the ground without the ring, but the Joy-Con is still on your leg, and you're doing like a crunch back and forth. And then there was one other. What the hell was it? I don't remember. But you had those 4 attacks, and it'll ask you to do them 12 times. And the better you do the exercise, the more accurate it is, the more damage you cause to the enemy.
That's cool.
So it's really cool. And on top of all that, when you start getting towards like the back half of the set, it increases the speed of the reps. So you're doing the first few, like the first 6 or so, kind of slow.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of them, you pick up the pace. So it's kind of like, push through that as fast as you can. But they focus a lot on posture. So you're not, like if you're doing the exercise wrong, it's less effective than if you were maintaining good posture and executing it properly.
I see.
Now, they also have cooldowns. So you can't like spam squats, for example. Like let's say you're really good at squats. You could squat all day. Right?
Okay.
Can't do that in the game. It will prevent you from doing squats until you've done some of the other exercises. So this is really focusing on building a well-rounded workout that utilizes all parts of your body.
Dude, this sounds like really neat.
It is. It's a lot of fun. It definitely made me sweat. I feel it today. Like my knees are like a weak point for me. They've been kind of fucked up for years.
Mm-hmm.
I feel it in my knees. Like I was trying to get out of my chair at work yesterday, and that was a struggle.
You do one of those
times. Yeah, I definitely did. And I don't know what the muscle is between like your shoulder or your armpit area, but like that area right there where you're kind of getting that squeeze motion, like I feel it in there. what else was it? Oh yeah, and when you get to the boss, like they're like this the way the map is structured, at least the first level or the first world, is you have kind of like 3 sections, and each one is a separate workout for more or less, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're kind of short. Like one of them is like a couple minutes, one of them is like 5 minutes, and then the boss battle is anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes depending on how well you do. And you're going through and you're kind of learning the game as you go, so it kind of walks you through like the different things, how to jump, how to run, how to attack. And then you get to the boss, and the fucking boss is like this jacked up devil dude, right? And you walk up on him and he's doing push-ups like with one hand. He's fucking mocking you. And he's like, yeah, man, I gotta, you're here to save the world, but I gotta get my workout in.
Dude, this is great, man.
It is hilarious. It is clearly crafted with like a ton of love and attention to detail.
Yeah.
But like I actually feel like I worked out. Like when I was done, I was sweating. Oh, the Joy-Con. You know how the right Joy-Con has like an IR receiver on it? On the bottom of it?
Yes.
So like you've never used that before, right? Like what is that used for?
Yeah, I don't think so ever.
This game uses it.
Oh.
You put your thumb over it and it measures your heart rate.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that was even possible with that particular component on the Joy-Con?
Right? Seriously.
You know what I mean? Like, obviously, it must have been designed that way, I guess, right? I mean, how it had to have been.
I mean, I don't know what else they could have done with it, Like,
yeah.
I mean, unless you're using it as like a, light gun of some sort.
Yeah. Wow, man. I gotta say, this rundown that you're giving me, I'm very impressed.
I wish I had more to talk about because I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. I've only done one world, and like I'm really looking forward to getting into like the strategy of using certain exercises against certain opponents. I want to see how that plays out. But like I was talking about it in our Discord with Joe, and he made a comment a couple days ago, which I thought was hilarious, and I'm going to quote him here. Joe says, okay, so if someone said do 10 planks, I'd do 1 and be like, fuck you. But because it does a lot of damage at Ring Fit, I did 20.
When did this game come out?
Around September or October last year.
Okay.
2019.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I think, did we talk about this game like very briefly once?
I think we might have mocked it for looking like it's ridiculous.
Maybe we probably did.
The trailer was ridiculous, but I'm going to send you a video that like sold me on the game.
Yeah, please.
Because there was a video of a guy who, I don't know if he's a YouTuber or a game reviewer or what, but he kind of has a similar build as me, right? He looks like he's probably been athletic at one point in his life, and then he became an adult and he stopped. So he's a little heavier than he wants to be, but he's not like, I don't know. It's I don't want to use the word obese because, like, frankly, if you talk to a doctor, I'm obese. But I think there's like I don't know. He's a tall guy. He's about my height, my build. I'll leave it at that. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I've been trying to get back into exercising. I have a personal trainer here. I'm going to play this game with my personal trainer watching me and see what he thinks. And it's a very interesting look at an everyman's point of view combined with a professional's point of view. Okay.
I dig that.
And I think, like, for me, that was what sold me on the game once and for all. I watched that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm buying this right now. I told Nikki, honey, I'm buying this game. She's like, do it. You've been talking about it for a couple months. I think you should do it.
Well, that's just the beauty of, like, YouTube and just, like, watching the right kind of things because sometimes all it takes is just one person's perspective that will, form that opinion or form that purchase for you and just kind of seal the deal.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. So I definitely think it's worth considering, especially if you're looking to introduce some sort of a fitness routine at home. And if you like, gamifying that sort of thing too.
Yeah. No, I think this is huge, man. Just kind of circling back to the beginning of this conversation. It's so challenging, I think, for most people, rightfully so, to kind of stick with something when it comes to like a diet or like a fitness regimen because you have to have fun these days. It's really hard to just go to the gym and, like you said, just rent a Stairmaster or use a bunch of machines and just do like back and buys. And then you leave and you're like, I don't fucking feel that much different. I'm just like sore the next day and I'm not making any progress. You really have to do something that does work up a sweat, has an element of fun to it, and variety, and something that you need some motivation to kind of always be pushing you to continue to do it. And it's a quite a concoction of things that's needed to stay consistent. And a lot of people think, oh, dude, you just got to you got to get after it, man. Like, you just got to get after it like every day. And that message is great, but it's such a blanketed fucking loaded statement, dude. You can't just tell people, oh, Drew, dude, you just got to get it together, man. You got to get after it, man. Just like me. I get after it every day. Right, it's like, you're going to be like, all right, cool, but where the fuck do I start, dude? Like,
or where do I find the fucking time? You know?
Right.
Like going to a gym is a process. And for some people, maybe that's part of their way of life, and I'm not criticizing that. Everybody's got their thing. For me, like, my time is extremely limited as it is. So for me to drive to a gym, find a machine, use it, come up with a full workout in that time, and then come home, like, just the fact of just the act of traveling back and forth to that gym is valuable time for me.
Absolutely.
You know, especially during a work week, you know, and on my days off, those are pretty packed too. Maybe these are excuses, maybe they're not, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, it's really psychologically challenging. I mean, I went to the gym this morning. I didn't really want to go. I went because I didn't go at all Monday through Friday. So I was like, all right, I just got to get something going here. And I went, I was doing some back work, just, you know, some basic weight stuff and machines. And I just wasn't into it, man. I was like, what the fuck am I here? Like, there's so many other things I got to get done today. And like, I muscled through it.
It sounds like you went kind of like out of obligation.
I did go out of obligation, and sometimes that can be a good thing. However, in most cases, it's usually not, and you really want to listen to your body. And, you know, it's very easy to listen to your body and be like, oh, I'm not going at all. But if you can find a way to listen to your body sometimes and then say, you know what, I'm really just not feeling it today. I'm either going to work out at home, or I'm going to work out later, or I'm just not going to work out today, because mentally you really have to be there. And if you're not mentally there, it's going to be a piss poor workout. And for me today, it was. I mean, I'm not fucking, you know, shameful of that. I left and I was like, all right, you know, whatever. I exercised. I got my muscles moving at least, and I feel a little bit better. But, you know, generally speaking, I just was more concerned about getting home and cleaning and like getting some other shit done.
Yeah, I mean, that's for me one of the reasons why I dislike gyms, but I've always liked a class environment because, you know, if you go to like I grew up doing martial arts. You know, I started when I was like 4, and I didn't stop until, you know, I was in my 20s or I think early 30s maybe. And like, I looked forward to it. Like, yeah, of course I was working out. I was becoming a better person physically, but I was learning stuff. I was socializing with people that I enjoyed being around. Like, there was more to it than just going to the gym, lifting weights, and coming home. And to me, like, the gym experience is very mindless. I have no interest in going to Planet Fitness or any gym for that matter and just going through the motions of being a zombie on a treadmill.
Oh, dude, it's the worst.
You know what I mean? I am genuinely looking forward to firing up this game again. Yeah,
that's good.
And I haven't had that feeling in a long time when it comes to fitness.
Well, I mean, like, going back to like the original Wii, they had Wii Sports, and I know there's some like fitness shit with that, right? Like they had the little maybe I'm thinking
there's Wii Fit.
That's what it was.
Fit.
Yeah, Wii Fit was like a fucking huge hit, dude. Huge hit. I remember going to GameStops and seeing like you know, sort of dirty like Wii Fit boards that were like sealed in a bag selling for pre-owned. But it's not because people didn't like it. It's just it was a very used game, meaning that it was very successful, and, you know, eventually people moved on from it. But it was definitely something that I remember a lot of people being involved with, and it was good from what I understand.
Yeah, and, I mean, this is like the next level.
And you know what? This all boils down to the fact that if this is your way to stay focused, if this is your way to get back in shape mentally and physically, then so be it, dude. I mean, who the fuck cares? You know, would you rather do that or go to the gym and use a bunch of random machines, leave, and not feel really much different?
Exactly. I mean, right now my mindset with this is let's kind of just build a habit. of exercising again. And then I think ultimately what I would like to do is try to start running. You know, I have a very nice neighborhood for running. It's very flat. There's a couple hills, but nothing too crazy. So I'd like to try and get out there and start like hitting the pavement and get in shape that way too. And I think combining this with that and of course a well-balanced diet, you know, will lead to overall improvement mentally and physically.
Absolutely. You're going to feel tremendously better. Anytime I spend a week like eating really clean, I absolutely 100% can tell the difference. And I'm not bullshitting anybody here. Like, I know that a lot of people say, oh, you got to drink your water, you're going to eat your vegetables, and you got to work out. But it's true. If you combine those things and it all kind of fits with your lifestyle and your diet and everything, you will absolutely feel better.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. So I need to get to that place again.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that this is going to be your sort of start here, and it could end up being the end as well. Like, this could be your go-to thing.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see where it goes. You know, I'm kind of going along with the ride and seeing where it takes me. I obviously want to try and do something consistently. I would like to try to use it every day. I don't think that's going to be possible necessarily, but at least if I can use it most days in a week, I think that's a good start. And then, you know, kind of go from there. You know, once the summer hits too, it's going to be different because I'll be doing a lot of yard work. And, you know, mowing the lawn when you have a third of an acre is very physical.
Yeah, so that'll be good.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, dude. At least you didn't buy some like weird fitness thing like off of like an infomercial.
Oh,
that's
God.
like one of the worst things you can do is like buy one of those pull-up bars. You know how many guys have bought a pull-up bar in their life?
Oh, God,
I would say like millions.
Millions.
I know.
And how many people actually use them? Like,
oh, dude, you watch the commercial. It's some like Calvin Klein buff model using it who's like perfectly tanned with white teeth. And then you're like, dude, that's going to be me. That's going to be me. I'm going to order that thing. And it's going to be me. And then you get it, you install it like awkwardly on your door. And then you realize sometimes that you're so tall that you have to like kick your fucking calves up, like the bottom half of your leg. You got to curl your legs just to not hit the floor when you're using it. Yep. Because most door frames like are not super tall. So
exactly.
People don't think about that and they don't show that in the commercials. So then every time I've bought one, dude, I would never really use it that much because I had to kick my legs back and they're really fucking hard to use, dude. Like if you don't know how to do a pull-up, why the fuck you ordering that thing?
Not only that too, but like I see that and I think about all the damage it does to the door frame.
Oh yeah, I fucked up. I've like scuffed paint. I've done a lot of things with those kind of products over the years. Yeah.
It's like you know, sure, like if you're the right height and the right fitness level, like yeah, that's probably an effective way to get a pull-up in every now and then, but I don't know.
I think it's good for like a doorway and like a man cave, right? And like you maybe go down there and you've got like a pool table and shit and you're kind of into fitness, you're in relatively good shape. That would be a good time to buy one because then you're going to do exactly what you said. Maybe you walk by and you do a few pull-ups every like day because you're going down there consistently. If you're walking by it, you're more likely to use it. But if you install that as a fucking 17-year-old dude in your bedroom, and you've got like Pink Floyd posters on the wall and like a pot leaf poster and shit, you're not going to fucking use that thing. I feel like anybody at that age always has a goddamn pull-up bar in their doorway. Or it's like a young 24-year-old and he's got it like in his apartment and it's got like a sock draped over it. Because that's a good sign that you know that dude's using it when there's a fucking sweaty sock draped over the pull-up bar. You're like, oh yeah, you liking that? You liking that thing? You saw Chuck Norris using it on TV, and you thought it was gonna be, you thought it was gonna turn you into fucking Rambo.
Oh God, oh boy. On that note, Will, let's wrap it up.
That's probably a good idea.
Oh man, so thanks everybody for listening to the show. We will see you next week. We're on the web at www.wdgrpodcast.com. Hit us up Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at WDGRPodcast. Will, how can they find you?
Will_gear.
You can find me at ScienceStorm. And that's all I got.
Discord, website, WDGRpodcast.com.
We'll see you next week, folks. Thanks for listening.
See ya.